The galaxy is burning. Brother fights brother, and treason splits the Imperium of man. This is the Age of Darkness. Welcome to the Remembrancers retreat, coming to you from within the depths of the Vengeful Spirit.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Remembrancers Retreat, a Warhammer 30k Horus Heresy podcast. My name is Jesse. I'm here today with Jason.
What's going on, dudes and dudettes?
And Steven.
My life is out of control. There's so many books.
So today we're wrapping up what's changed in Horus Heresy coverage. And this week we're going to go through the special rules and discuss what's new, what's different, what we like, what we don't like. And then after that, we'll be getting into the meat of stuff. But we want to get this new edition changes out of the way. So we're going to go ahead and take it away. So once again, like last week, or last episode, we're using a cheat sheet from the Flaymaster, who we'll have a link to that in the description of our show. So once again, thanks to the Flaymaster for putting this together, because it's really handy and saves me a lot of work. So, the first special rule that we'll be covering is night fighting. Now, every game on a 2-up for the first turn, and on the second turn on a 4-up, requires one player's consent for night fighting to take into effect. The effects are, there's a 24-inch max range, a -1 to ballistic skill, and a -1 to leadership to all units. If you have night vision or a Primarch, you ignore those penalties. And vehicles with searchlights, ignore the ballistic skill modifier.
This is so cool. I love new night fighting.
This has given assault armies quite a boon.
Yeah, quite a new lease on life. For reference, the old night fighting rule was simply that all units gained stealth. And that was just it. And old stealth, which I'm pretty sure is still the same as new stealth, is, well, actually, I'm not sure. We'll find out soon, I guess. Old stealth was just +2 to your cover save, whatever that was. So during the night, everybody had a 5-up in the open. Most ruins were 3-up or 2-up. It was kind of useless, all things considered. It just made cover saves more important for 2 turns.
It was one of those things that was useless until the second it wasn't, in which it was way too far the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Because you could go through like 15 games where it'd be useless, and then you'd hit that one Raven Guard guy that had like Camellia Line on everything and stealth in ruins, and then shred. So everybody has like a 2-up cover save for like the first turn or whatever. So again, yeah, it's so great that it almost like shifts the entire balance of the game. So it's something you really have to account for now. It's not like you can just be like, night fight, whatever. It'll be like annoying. My opponent will make a couple more saves for the first turn. Like now it fundamentally like shifts the balance of the game in the ways that can like really affect the subsequent turns, and I love that so much.
And with vehicles, they ignore the ballistic skill modifier, which is handy.
So here's an interesting note on the searchlights, though. So almost every vehicle, as I've browsed through the various books, almost every vehicle has searchlights.
Yeah.
And I guess I should add a little context here. This edition's current night fighting rules mimic much older night fighting rules from like 5th and 6th edition, where it used to be like there were bands of weapon accuracy. You couldn't see beyond, I think,
it was
48 inches, and then within 48 to 36, it was enemies had +1 to their saves, closer. It was confusing. I don't even remember it that well.
Yeah.
But searchlights were a piece of war gear that you could turn on to negate night fighting for your shooting attack that turn. The downside, of course, being is that if you can see them, they can see you.
Right.
And searchlights now follow very much the same convention of if you have them, you just ignore ballistic modifiers. You can see as far as you need to.
Does it ignore the max range?
I believe so. I would have to go pull out the book again from the other side of the room and look. But I want to say off the top of my head that it does. I could be wrong. But what I thought was interesting about searchlights is that there is no accommodation made for turning them on and off. They're always on. Which means that during night fighting, vehicles can always be targeted, regardless. And you don't have any sort of ballistic skill modifier to shooting them. So it's interesting that.
Does it say that specifically?
It says what specifically?
For searchlights, like people can target them without.
So it says in searchlights is any unit that has the benefit of searchlights also confers the benefit of searchlights to any unit that shoots at them.
Oh.
Just like old searchlights. Yeah. So, kind of revisiting that older style of night fighting is that the searchlight is always on. And if, like, you have a Land Raider coming down the table and it's got the searchlight on, it can see everything, but everything can also see it. Which I think is pretty cool. Not the least which reason that night fighting on its own can drastically change the way you have to build a list. Because only one person has to want to use it in order for you to legally be able to use it.
Yeah, and on a 2-up, most of the time you can expect to be fighting a night if somebody wants it.
Mm-hmm. So very cool stuff there. It like Jason said, it feels meaningful. Instead of, it's night fighting. Okay, well, this will be useless for a while. The -1 leadership to all units is also kind of a big deal. And we'll get into that later, but there's lots of stuff now that affects leadership. And leadership in general has dropped.
Yeah.
So night fighting is going to be real brutal.
Since we're talking night fighting, can we talk night vision at the same time?
Yeah, go for it.
May as well.
So this is something that I actually read over once or twice, and it completely vipped over my head, and I didn't get it. Night vision itself doesn't just ignore night fight anymore. It does, but it's a step better than that. Because I remember the exact moment I realized this. I was reading through the Night Lord special rules, and I was like, come on, like they have to pay 15 points a squad for prey sight to get night vision. What the hell? That's lame. They're Nostramans, they can see in the dark. But night vision itself doesn't just ignore night fight, it also ignores shrouding, which means any squad that has night vision now ignores completely the evade reaction. It's basically useless against them now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
Which
and
makes
worth those points now.
Oh my gosh, it makes so much more sense now. Both like thematically and in the game. Like that's definitely worth the points to upgrade. Like much, much more so on like, a shooting heavy squad or something like I know I'm going to put it on some Volkites, with my Night Lords, just so they can. Again, it's like I've heard evade is like kind of like having a free, pocket apothecary if you need it, and it kind of is up until like the Night Lords kick on the thermal vision, and you have no recourse. It's terrific.
Yeah, I enjoy that because for a while, especially in first edition, people with shrouded or stealth in cover it was just so hard to dislodge them.
Well, yeah, it was one of those super swingy things again, right? It's like they have a 3-up, basically a 3-up invulnerable right up until they get hit by an irradiation engine, and then it just doesn't matter. It's like one of those far into the spectrum things.
Yeah.
But also with this night fighting, almost always on a turn 1 and half the time on a turn 2, you're going to see a lot more maneuvering of units to get them just where you want them.
Yeah, for when the sun comes up.
Yeah, in the first third of the game, like many times in the older edition, it's usually just, all right, see how much stuff can survive from the hail of fire from either side come first turn. But now you've really got to think about a lot of things like just charging, deep striking, coming right in within that 24 inches.
Yeah, night fighting is probably one of the biggest special rules changes, or one of the most impactful, I should say.
Yeah. Also, and before I get ahead of myself, we were talking last episode regarding sweeping advances, and we had talked about multiple combats. From the way multiple combats work now, if you are in multiple combats with more than one enemy combatant, if one enemy unit falls back, you cannot sweep them. They both have to be falling back for you to try to sweep. So
that makes sense.
Yep. So I can't remember what we talked about last time, but I think we got a little confused. So shout out to our patrons for helping us clear that up. So thanks.
Yay.
All right.
Before we go further, since I dipped out, did we go over the difference in like armor saves and damage mitigation now?
Probably, but if you want to hit it up real quick, go for it.
Yeah, so certain saves are now classified as damage mitigation saves, Shrouded being one of them, Feel No Pain being the other. I'm pretty sure those are the only ones. But those are separate from like saving throws, armor saves, invulnerable saves, cover saves. And so when something specifies no saves may be taken, damage mitigation will either be allowed or it will also specifically be said to be disallowed. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, basically another layer of saves, which we've had in the past before, but now it's made much more clear on what exactly constitutes as those type of saves.
A save or not a save, or, yeah. Yep. Great.
Mm-hmm. All right. Scout?
Yeah, Scout. So we have infantry, artillery, dreadnoughts, and automata may redeploy 6 inches after the game has begun. All other units may redeploy 12 inches, but as always, you must remain more than 9 inches away from enemy units. Not that big of a change, other than the fact that it's given. Now, Scout is accessible by units that didn't used to have it. It used to be pretty much infantry and vehicles that infantry rode in had Scout. But now artillery and dreadnoughts and robots get Scout as well, which is nice. And they have gone ahead and made a nice little caveat for how far you can move when you're scouting.
Now these are for units that specifically have Scout.
Yes, so you still have to have the special rule Scout. As far as I'm aware, Scout does not confer from a unit to a character, nor does it confer from a character to a unit. So everybody's got to have it to go scouting.
Yep. And looks like they still kept Infiltrate, where it's like a slightly more powerful Scout, where units that infiltrate may be deployed anywhere on the table, no closer than 9 inches from enemy units without line of sight to the unit, or can be deployed anywhere in line of sight more than 12 inches from an enemy unit.
Yep, that's pretty similar to the way it was before. I never used a whole lot of Infiltrate. That's more of an Alpha Legion and a Raven Guard thing.
Yeah.
So I honestly couldn't tell you exactly
it's a
what was in
little
there.
bit different. It's 6 inches closer, essentially. It used to be 12 inches away if you were out of line of sight, or 18 inches away if you were in line of sight.
Shoot. Okay.
Neat. And just like Scout, that doesn't confer in or out of a unit. Which I think is the case for every special rule now, if I'm not mistaken. In order for a unit to benefit from it, the entire unit has to have the rule.
I'd have to double check that.
Yeah. Except maybe Feel No Pain. Because I know that you can just slap an apothecary in there. But anyway. Let's see. We got Dangerous Terrain. This is fun.
Yeah, we've covered a little bit this before, but now it's...
Yeah, it used to be Dangerous Terrain. You know, you're walking, you trip over some barbed wire. Ow, take a wound. Take your save. Okay, you passed? No problem, because you're a Space Marine and you're wearing a tank for pants. Now, if failed, you suffer an AP2 wound with only invulnerable saves allowed. So, no Feel No Pain, no Shrouded, no armor saves. Only your refractor field is going to save you from that barbed wire. which is great. That's so much better. Because it used to be you could just walk through dangerous terrain and no one would care.
God, think about Phosphex clouds now.
Yeah. You used to be able to just walk right through Phosphex. I'm like, yeah, I might take a hit or two, but I'm going to save it on my armor. Not now, buddy. Now you gotta walk around.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it is still on a failed test, which is what, a 1 on a d6?
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, but you take a 6-man squad of something, walk them through dangerous terrain, statistically, one of them is going to die.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's great. After that, let's see. Sniper. So, Sniper is fun. I like this change. It grants automatic precision shots to all wounds. So, it used to be, with Sniper, you had to roll 6s to hit in order to pick out apothecaries, sergeants, and what have you. But now, the Sniper rule means that any of your hits are precision hits. So, it means you can allocate them to whichever models you choose, as opposed to your opponent. Great way to take out apothecaries, officers, vexillas, voxmen. Anybody who's carrying fancy stuff is basically just going to get domed by a bullet.
The big change now, too, is even before when you got a precision shot, even with a sergeant or an apothecary or something, you'd still get that 4+ lookout, sir.
Not
But now,
anymore.
No, now the way wound allocation works, it's kind of gross with precision shots. It makes them very powerful, and it makes sergeants, apothecaries, your vexillas, like your special weapons in squads, comparatively really vulnerable, which I love. It feels perfect.
Yeah. And now with most sniper weapons having rending, I think Nemesis bolt rifles have sniper, or have rending.
Oh yeah, they have rending on a 5.
Yeah, they're just, not only are you allocating the wound in there, but if they hit you hard enough, he's just going to die.
Yeah. Not much you can do about that.
Yeah.
Other than take an evade, I think. I think you can still try and evade on that, but...
Yeah, you can still evade or feel no pain.
Yeah, as long as the person shooting doesn't have night vision, which I'm pretty sure most of the things that have snipers have night vision.
Oh god, Night Lord snipers are going to be so rude.
Right? On top of the fact that so many Night Lords units have fear, which drops leadership close by, so it's a terrific support technique, because then Talent for Murder activates on pinned units. It's like a triple stack of leadership manipulation for Night Lords, and it feels so perfect.
Yep. Also, if snipers... snapshots can never be precision shots, and attacks with blast or template may never benefit from the effects of sniper.
Oh, well, small miracles, I guess. I honestly don't know how you're supposed to defend your characters against snipers, because snipers are really deadly now.
Yeah, they are. It's exactly what they should be. How many times in the novels has one of the Marines said, like, I'm not putting a crest on my helmet because that's a target?
Yeah, Karn says that during Armatura. He's like,
Karn says that during Armatura.
I hate this crest on my helmet. Snipers love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snipers hate this one trick.
Snipers hate them.
Take your helmet off.
They'll
never know.
I guess you're really going to have to... Thinking about it, that's really going to change the way you're going to approach your targets, right? Because there's really not a lot that you can do to mitigate the kind of damage that snipers can put on a squad other than block line of sight.
Oh, yeah. And the way hit allocation works, there is nothing wrong, because every single one of those is a precision shot. So you roll 4 hits, you could just, take these 4 hits on your sergeant.
Yeah.
Wound, rend.
Yep. It's rough. Real rough, buddy. Oh man, militia are going to have such a bad time with snipers. Just plinking out medics, discipline officers, sergeants, the one source of a power weapon.
I have faith, though. They'll have something. They'll have something that'll even the field.
Things can move fast, too, so they can get up on those snipers and try to take them out.
That's true.
And generally, for the most part, other than a console here and there, snipers don't have a lot of armor, generally.
Yeah, I think, recon squads.
Yeah, the 3-up.
Squads still have a 3-up.
They are skirmish too, so they get that +1 boost to whatever cover save they have, which is pretty nice.
Phew. All right, I'm going to have to build.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out.
Yeah.
More snipers. Snipe out the snipers.
Counter sniping.
Yes.
Counter sniping or artillery.
Yeah. It's like
And the
counter
only thing
battery
with-
fire.
A lot of artillery these days doesn't have the same AP2 punch.
Yeah.
It
Oh, well,
doesn't.
Flamestorm cannon it is.
Yeah.
And with the
It
skirmish, they
feels
can spread out some more too.
Mhm.
much more like a dice game now. Like I've been killing custodians this way for years. Like, you don't try and double them out. You don't try to hit them with super high strength, low IP. You throw buckets of dice at them, and anybody that uses Terminators will tell you fail way more 2+ armor saves than it feels like you should.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't care how much you love the Emperor. You can't make 80 saves.
Most
what do we
likely
got
not.
after this one? A Power of the Machine Spirit. So this is neat.
Yeah, they've drastically changed it because
So I got the real book right here.
Mhm.
The interface between this vehicle's advanced machine spirit and its fire control mechanisms allow the crew to target foes with incredible accuracy. A vehicle with this special rule may attack different targets with each ranged weapon it is permitted to fire during any shooting attack. Neat.
Yeah.
It's basically like having split fire. I don't even know if split fire still exists. Yes, it does.
yeah. So this is interesting because with normal vehicle rules now, defensive weapons, where if you have a unit on your left and a unit on your right, you can basically split both of your defensive weapons to target those that it can see.
Yeah, and I like that.
But now
so
with
the
Powered
old-
Machine Spirit, that allows you to do more than just your defensive weapons.
Mhm.
Your
But
battle
one
weapons
laser destroyer in one direction, another laser destroyer in another.
Correct.
And that's pretty crazy on units like the Kratos, which are just bristling with guns.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't know if the Kratos has the option to buy Power of the Machine Spirit. Because it used to be you could just buy it and put it on Predators and Vindicators and so forth.
Yeah. Let me check here.
While you're looking that up, I enjoy that. I enjoy that it's now just this shoot at as many targets as you have weapons, basically, instead of the old fire one weapon at full ballistic skill and everything else, or fire at a different target. Like, because it used to be people would just buy machine spirits for stuff like Vindicators, zip them up as fast as they can go, and still drop a demolisher shot on stuff, which felt kind of cheap after it happens to you enough times.
Yeah.
It also felt real unpleasant to have, like, to spend 3 units worth of shooting to shake a vehicle and force it to snap fire, and then it's just like, machine spirit, I don't care.
Yeah. So it looks like the Kratos cannot get Power of the Machine Spirit. Looks like right now it's currently reserved for Land Raiders of the Proteus Carrier, Explorer, and Spartan variants, which they come with it by default.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Because like I said, it feels a little more... It feels less oppressive to have, a vehicle just basically doing whatever it wants every time it fires.
Although those vehicles can always explode, so...
Yeah, it's true. Man, Kratos is not a super heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Yeah.
Rough times. Rough times for you, Kratos.
Yeah. All right,
We've
so
gone
we've
over
already...
night vision.
Yep.
Ignores cover. You'll love it. Ignores cover basically does the exact same thing it always did. You can't take cover saves against weapons that have it. But importantly, you also cannot take the shrouded damage mitigation save against it.
Similar to night vision.
Yeah, you can't dodge fire. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, short, simple, easy.
And then we got move through cover, which
Mhm.
ignores penalty for moving and charging through terrain, but does not automatically pass dangerous terrain checks. And this does not confer to the unit.
Oh, yeah. well, that's nice. Instead of they've removed more of the randomized dice rolling. Now you're just ignoring the penalty, which is nice. Instead of having to try and move through cover, roll your extra die, and still flub it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No, this is handy and makes that particular rule a lot easier to use.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Haywire is next. So the Haywire still has like a little chart that you roll on. On a 1, it does nothing. On a 6, it does a penetrating hit. And on everything else, it does a glancing hit. But now it has an extra little bit to accommodate for the changes to dreadnoughts and robots. So wounds on dreadnoughts and automata succeed on a 2 up, and they ignore saves. And if a 6 is rolled when you're rolling to wound them, they ignore invulnerable saves as well. Yikes.
Yeah.
Because both of those units have 2-up armor saves. Well, the Dreadnought does, at least. Automata, obviously, are a little more varied. But I can't imagine they have anything worse than a 3-up.
Vorax have a 4-up. Or did.
Oh, well, did, yeah.
Wait,
Fingers crossed for Vorax.
I just realized something. Haywire is like the inverse of Fleshbane now. I like that. That's a cool parody.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Wounding them. The 6 ignoring invulnerable saves is such a painful thing. Stock up on Haywire, boys and girls, if you want to kill robots and dreadnoughts, because those are some tough customers, and you will need the Haywire.
Yeah, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I haven't delved too much on what can take Haywire now, other than I think there's a few grenades out there.
The graviton gun, the grav.
Oh, that's
gun?
right. That's right.
Grav
I never
gun is
used
still
those
Haywire.
before in the last edition, so.
Ho ho ho. Grav is Haywire. The Corpusant stave is Haywire, which just the idea of some mortificator with just his little shock stick, just get out of here, go on, get.
Yeah.
Stabbing a dreadnought repeatedly.
Yeah, on 6s, it even ignores invulnerable saves. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, 5-up invulnerable save on a dreadnought isn't like crazy.
Oh, still a 1
but it's
3, though.
You'll make it enough chimes to frustrate your opponent.
Yes, you will.
So there's that. Next, we have Hatred, which pretty much does the exact same thing that it used to do. First round of combat, you can re-roll your misses, which is nice, always handy. Anyone who's ever run a chaplain will know how nice Hatred is. But now, it triggers if new combat is started. So if a unit charges an already engaged unit, that's a brand new combat. It's time to hate them all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I like that. Because used to be Hatred, I don't think you would get if you charged into a unit that was already in combat, because that combat had already been going, and it never specifically said that it starts a new combat.
Well, yeah, because these are brand new guys. I mean, you haven't let them know what you think about them yet.
Yeah, you gotta log on your Twitter chainsword and really let them have it, but only at 160 characters or less.
So yeah, now we have a force, and I'm reading this one out of the rule book. Page 238. Any psyker with a weapon or ability with this special rule may choose to make a psychic check before making any attacks with that weapon or resolving the ability. If the check is successful, then the strength value of any attacks made is doubled. If the check is failed, then Perils of the Warp is resolved, targeting a unit containing the model that failed the check. If the psyker survives Perils of the Warp, then it may attack as normal. So, double strength, no longer instant death.
Yeah, it's... On the surface, it seems like Force has taken a nerf. Even though, with enough doubled strength, you're still swinging with instant death. So...
but then when you realize that a lot of power weapons now are much more viable than they used to be.
Yep, Mauls are adding +3, so basically +6 to your strength of 4 if you're a Space Marine. Or do Mauls add +2? Probably about +2.
So with a Maul, would it not double your base strength and then add +2 for a total of 10?
I believe that is the case. I believe you do the multiplication first and then add modifiers.
But now it allows you to punch vehicles, right? Because before, like, a tank doesn't care about instant death, strength 4.
This is true.
But it cares about strength 10.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's a good point. Additionally, Force still confers instant death if you hit something that has the corrupted subtype. So demons, probably dark mech robots are going to come with corrupted. Horus Ascended, Lorgar Transfigured, the fancy Marigal Dreadnought all have corrupted. So just walk up to them and bap them with the force weapon and watch them disintegrate.
So that's a rule from Corrupted?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's part of the corrupted subtype rule.
Gotcha.
Is attacks that come with force cause instant death. Whoops. Uh-huh.
Yep.
So, and I'm going to be putting a lot of corrupted stuff in my Word Bearers army, so just a heads up, y'all are going to want to bring force weapons. And this is important to note against corrupted units, because corrupted units cannot fall back out of combat. They just take more wounds for losing combat.
Oh, okay.
So you'll have to fight them one way or another until they're all dead, and it's a lot easier to make them all dead if you're swinging instant death.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So next rule we have is Fearless. And units with one or more models with the Fearless special rule automatically pass pinning tests, regroup tests, and morale checks. In addition, models with the Fearless special rule ignore the effects of the Fear special rule. However, units containing one or more models with the Fearless special rule cannot use any reactions that grant a cover, armor save, invulnerable save, or damage mitigation roll of any kind, and cannot choose to fail a morale check due to our weapons or useless special rule. And if a unit has become pinned and then gains a Fearless special rule, all the effects of being pinned are immediately cancelled.
Neat. That's pretty similar to the way it used to be, but I really enjoy the way that it reacts with reactions, or interacts with reactions, I should say.
No, it's fluffy.
Yeah,
I'm not going to duck my head. Keep on going.
Yeah, I'm fearless. I don't give a fuck about bullets. Intimidate the incoming laser fire into not mattering. Man literally too fearless to die.
That's right.
Speaking of fear...
Yeah, this is
probably my favorite change so far, is the change to fear. Now fear has an X value, and it is a unit with fear reduces leadership of all units within 12 inches of that unit by the number in the brackets. So fear 1, everybody's reducing their fear by 1, or their leadership by 1. Fear 2, 3, and so on. I love it so much. It's so cool. Because fear used to be basically useless until it wasn't.
Yep. Now, it does also say in the rulebook that enemy units that are locked in combat are only affected by this modifier if they are locked in combat with the unit that causes fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can't worry too much about something that's going on 50 feet from you if you are busy fighting with a chainsaw. You know?
And it is not cumulative either.
Yeah, does not stack. But what does stack is rules that are different from fear, but still reduce leadership, like shell shock.
Yes.
So a unit that has fear and shell shock 2 reduces the target leadership by 3. It's a rough day to be getting shot by shell shock weapons.
Mm-hmm.
But I love this because old fear, kind of like the cover save increasing special rules, really only mattered half the time, and usually less than that.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you who don't remember, old fear was, in close combat, take a leadership check. If you fail, fight at weapon skill 1. It was okay. Fear
now definitely makes a name for itself in this new edition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And lots of units have the ability to inflict fear. The Night Lords can just buy it with Trophies of Judgment. The Word Bearers can buy it with Dark Channeling. because corrupted subtypes automatically cause fear, but are immune to fear, I believe. So Primarchs cause fear. What? So lots of stuff causes fear now. The Legion Herald, with his big giant flag, he causes fear, and also grants Fearless, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just like last edition, if you do cause fear, that does not mean you are immune to fear yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you have to have the Fearless special rule. So really cool change there. What's next?
That looks like we got Fleet.
Yep.
Jason, you want to roll into this too?
Sure, I'm happy to take a couple. Fleet is now, just like Fear, has an X value to it. Grants bonus to run, reaction moves, and charges by the number of inches in the bracket. So it's pretty terrific because it's never not going to be useful. Fleet used to be, you could, roll 2d6 and take the highest for your run move, and you could re-roll one or both of the dice for charging, which was good, but not all that handy on a unit that was not melee based.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's never going to, it's never going to steer you wrong. It's just going to be like a flat bonus to any of your reactions, any of your charges, any of your combination runs, and it's great because it stacks with other things that benefit like that, like having a high movement value gives you, anything movement 8 and above gives you a bonus to your charge distance. So it combos very nicely.
Cool. We like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's universally useful. Even Fearless units, which can't, use reactions for saves and stuff, can still get it for their close combat charges. It's good times.
Right, so next one down here, we've got Deflaggerate. Deflaggerate is basically the same. I have been getting so much work out of it. Guys, let me tell you, having heavy 3 on Volkite calivers now is such a huge change in the weight of dice. 30 shots, strength 6 from 10 guys at a 30-inch range has been pulling so much work for me in my first few games.
Yeah, that sounds nice. That sounds like a heavy support squad now.
Oh, yeah. And they're really cheap, too. They're under 200 points. I think they're 195 for 10 guys with 10 calivers.
Oof.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
So it says that it doesn't gain any additional special rules for the Deflaggerate wounds. What?
Right.
Were there any weapons that used to do that?
So in the rule book, the way it says here, it specifically calls out that the additional hits from Deflaggerate do not themselves inflict more hits and do not benefit from any special rules possessed by attacking models such as Preferred Enemy X or Precision Strikes X, which I don't think I ever came in a situation where I could use that before. Maybe if I had a Volkite Charger with with a HQ unit, but quite honestly, I never thought to even use that.
Yeah.
Every so often it would crop up, like Night Lord's Terror Squads have Preferred Enemy Infantry and they had Volkite Chargers. So
yeah.
There was always the question, because they never specified whether or not. So there's always that question of like, do my additional wounds from Deflaggerate also get Preferred Enemy? Things like that.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
But now it's just negative. Like, sadly, the jet of flaming ash that dude just turned into does not have your same tactical cognizance
Whoops.
and speciality for killing infantry.
Sorry.
But realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. Ash doesn't hate you.
Yeah, Ash is impartial.
Yeah.
So, next along the line, we've got Concussive X. Concussive is a pretty big shift, because it used to be any model that took a hit would have its initiative reduced to 1 in the next turn. which was nigh on useless in a shooting weapon, could occasionally be useful in close combat, but it was very random whether it would, either be useless, like terrific, that Terminator with a power fist is now striking just as last as before.
Yeah.
Now it's pretty handy because it kind of makes more sense. Take a leadership if one or more wounds are inflicted, and if failed, you reduce the unit's weapon skill by the number in brackets. So pretty great.
That makes a great case for putting concussive weapons in units that are gonna go charge into high strength units like Terminators with power fists, because you can just bap them a few times, knock them upside the head, and now it doesn't matter that they're swinging at strength 8 because they're not going to hit you.
It's a lot bigger shift too now with how the weapon skill chart has changed, because going immediately, if you drop their weapon skill by 1 and you were previously the same weapon skill, now you're hitting them on 3s, they're hitting you on 5s, which is a massive shift in the dice now.
Yeah.
And also, I'm looking at the rulebook, it says unit suffers 1 or more wounds, regardless of whether those wounds are saved or otherwise discounted. From a weapon with the special rule, must take a leadership test at the end of the shooting phase if inflicted as part of a shooting attack or the current combat. So it'll be if the attacks were inflicted as part of a melee attack. So it'd be after the end of that round, I would imagine. When it says, what does it mean by current combat?
Probably
I imagine that particular fight phase, right?
Yeah, the end of that specific assault.
Okay. And one thing that popped in my mind, or one thing I noticed, was it talking about suffering 1 or more wounds, regardless of whether those wounds are saved or otherwise discounted. Looking through the rulebook in the future, when I see suffer a wound, I kind of assume that it was a failed wound. But it seems like that is not the case.
They have seemed to have done a better job of specifying the difference between suffering a wound and suffering an unsaved wound.
Yeah.
I like that they're a little more consistent with that. It kind of takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it.
Yeah. All right. Next up we have Shock Pulse, which had, let's see.
Snap firing one.
That's right. But I want to see if it suffered on a hit. Let's see. Shock Pulse. Any vehicle, including super heavies, dreadnought, or automata models that suffer a penetrating hit or unsaved wound from a weapon with this special rule may only fire snapshots on the following game turn.
You love to see it.
Yeah, so that's also an important thing to keep in mind. It mentions only fire snapshots on the following game turn. Does that mean that, say, turn 1, you hit your enemy, you go first, you hit your enemy with a shock pulse weapon, they could still fire as normal that turn?
Game turn. The following game turn. Not player turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say rules as written, that's what that means. I'm not sure if that's what's intended, but...
I feel like it would be until the following game turn, but then also I need to figure out what game turn means at this point. Like, I feel like it's just the one full round, but
yeah, I'm not sure what let's see if that's in the index.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that if you guys want to keep on moving with that.
Yeah, sure. I'm not happy about the fact that it now affects my dreadnoughts, and Jason's probably won't be happy about his robots getting shock pulsed, but
I'm ecstatic. I hear the turn.
Oh, yeah.
In a complete game turn, each player gets a player turn, divided into movement, shooting, and assault phases. One game turn therefore comprises 2 player turns, one for each player, during which they become the active player. Whether a rule refers to a turn, it always means player turn, unless it specifically refers to a game turn.
Interesting. So, shock pulse then doesn't actually take effect until the next turn.
That's what it sounds like right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the forthcoming FAQ will clear that one up a little bit. I guess we'll find out.
I can kind of see it makes it a little less effective.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, having that kind of like delayed action is kind of interesting, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that you can...
It could screw them up for their next turn.
It's nice that you, as the player getting shock pulsed, don't just sit there with your big $300 or 300 point tank endlessly snap firing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You get at least one good shot off.
You bring your warlord to a mega battle and never get to fire anything but a snapshot on it.
You'd be a little upset. Next one is Armor Bane. And I like the way they've changed Armor Bane. So it's still the same. You roll 2d6 to penetrate armor. But now it also works on dreadnoughts and automata, which is nice. Because, those are some, I think, most dreadnoughts are at least T6, and most automata are going to be rolling around at T6.
Yeah.
So it is nice that you get that extra little oomph against them, even though they're not vehicles. But they also have added a bracketed qualifier to Armor Bane. So now it's Armor Bane Melta, Armor Bane Melee, and Armor Bane Ranged. Armor Bane and Melee and Armor Bane Ranged are exactly what it sounds like. They only take place in those effective ranges. Armor Bane Melta is the replacement for the old Melta rule. Now you only get the Armor Bane benefit if you are within half distance of your total range. So if your range is 24 inches, you have the Armor Bane rule in 12 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that they kind of just folded Melta in there instead of having it be its own separate rule.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fun. But pretty simple there, pretty self-explanatory. And speaking of big, huge, heavy hits, we have reworked yet again, for the third and final time, Destroyer weapons. That's right, Destroyer still exists. You're just going to have to live with that fact. It's not going anywhere, but it is much nicer now, in that the randomness is gone out of it, and now nobody has to, argue whether or not they want to use the old 30k Destroyer table or the 40 kids Destroyer table.
Okay, but can I just take a miniature victory lap and say they essentially used the second edition, or not the second edition, the Destroyer rules from Book 2 Massacre that everybody agreed pretty much universally were better, except quote unquote nobody used them?
Yeah.
They're basically the exact same thing.
Yep. So now it's 3d6 to penetrate any armor, and you discard the lowest. You add together the remaining dice. There's your, penetration value. If a hull point or a wound is inflicted, it does an additional D3 wounds / hull points. So a Destroyer weapon won't necessarily completely rip apart a tank, but it probably will. But more importantly, there's no ones to roll and just completely whiff.
Right. That magic Deus Ex Machina of a roll of one.
All gone. All gone.
And the other end of the spectrum, there's none that, how is it phrased, pick your model up, do not pass go, do not collect $200, just pack them up and go home.
Yeah.
Yep. That roll's gone too.
Yep.
You found a balance.
Yep. So that's nice. We like the new Destroyer rule.
Mm-hmm.
What comes after that one, Jesse?
All right, so the next one we have Monster Hunter, which allows you to reroll wounds versus dreadnoughts, automata, monstrous subtype, and Primarchs.
Oh no, Primarchs?
Yes.
Oh god. Well, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I like that they've changed it instead of just monstrous creatures, which, as a side note, don't exist anymore. Now you get the monstrous subtype, but we'll probably dig into that another time. So it's nice that it encompasses everything big instead of just robots.
Oh, I gotta check the line. Please have Monster Hunter. Please have Monster Hunter.
Well, he's looking at that.
Nah, he
Gets
doesn't.
Hot.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
Oh. Gets Hot is slightly different now. Still takes place the same way. If you roll a 1 while trying to shoot a Gets Hot weapon, your weapon got hot. But now the wound that you suffer has the same AP value as the weapon fired,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah, the
is
same
a
base
little
AP.
rougher. Yeah, the same
yes.
base AP.
Yes, and
so
no. Like which with if it was like this in first edition, plasma would be extremely bad.
Special support squads just going up in clouds of smoke.
Right. But because most plasma now has a base AP of 4, you'd be rolling against that 4 up AP. So you'd still get your armor save for Space Marines and whatnot.
Yeah, but stuff like the Gravis Plasma Cannon, which is just...
I might have a rougher time.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there was a brief point in 4th and a tiny bit of 5th edition 40K where plasma really was that bad because the wound inflicted ignored armor, and it also overheated on a 1 or a 2 if you rapid fired it.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
May the gods avert the omen. Well, fun times. Now we have Adamantium Will, which also has an X bracket now. You now get an invulnerable save in the brackets number versus any wounds caused by force, psychic focus, or perils of the warp. So Adamantium Will is actually useful now.
Yeah. Just a straight up invulnerable save against psychic powers, which
Against
I can
psychic
appreciate.
powers, but also against force weapons.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Lingering Death. That's a Phosphex thing, isn't it?
Yes, typically, yeah.
Yeah, so dangerous terrain tests, but only for models with a toughness value, which were the only ones that needed to worry about Lingering Death in the first place, I thought.
For dangerous terrain?
Yeah. Oh, so you could... Right. Grav weapons. You could throw down... No, that's difficult. I guess you could roll over a Phosphex template with a Land Raider, and if you roll the 1, then its tracks exploded and you were immobilized forever. Because it was dangerous terrain, but not only for units with a toughness value.
Yeah.
Okay, well that makes more sense. Okay, alright. Does Destroyer show up twice on here? Oh, yeah. Interesting. What do we got next?
The old hit and run.
Give him the old rope-a-dope.
Except now, you roll 2d6 and add your unit's movement value.
Ooh, so hit and run guys are hittier and runnier.
Yeah. So you don't get swept up and caught up in another charge on your opponent's turn.
Yeah, you can really... Boy, jump pack and jetpack guys and bikers can just zip right out of there. Huh. Wonderful. That's cool. A little nice quality of life improvement for the speedy guys.
Mm-hmm.
Destroyer shows up twice. We've already gone over that. Crushing Weight, which I believe only is a rule that the Typhon has. But when a vehicle makes a ram attack, hits are inflicted at strength 12. If resolving hits against a non-vehicle, it inflicts 6 plus d6 strength 10 hits instead. Wow. Just rolling right over tactical squads. That's hilarious. I love that. Because the Typhon used to have, I think it just did like D3 extra hits, didn't it? Or D6? I don't know. Jason's rammed me with a Typhon enough that I should remember it.
It gets a +1 to the Thunderblitz table, which was both a good and a bad thing. Because for the Thunderblitz table, it was like a meaner version of Tank Shock.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care how good it was. And it's why I always hated Thunderblitz and Stomp, even if it was working for me. A 6 on either one of those was remove whatever model you hit with it.
Yeah.
And that is nonsense, and it should not exist as a mechanic.
Yep, I'm pretty sure those are both gone now, aren't they?
They are.
And Stomp?
Stomp's way better now.
Oh, neat. Well, cool. Death Guard players are going to be happy here in a second. because Reaping Blow now has an X value. And if the model is in base contact with more than one enemy model, it increases its attacks by the value in brackets. And it doesn't reduce a wielder's initiative anymore.
Yeah, nope. It strikes at the initiative as normal for the weapon.
Yep, so those power scythes are just sweeping through dudes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. We have Breaching, which is, Plasma's new and cool little rule, where when rolling to wound against models with a toughness value, each roll that is equal to or higher than the value in brackets is resolved at AP2. So it's a little bit different from like Rending, which auto wounds and has, again, no effect on vehicles.
Huh. Wonderful. Cool. I didn't notice that it doesn't have that it has no effect on vehicles. That's nice. You can't just
you no longer.
You just can't rapid fire a whole bunch of plasma into a tank and fish for your pens.
Yeah. No, it's Plasma now has its own unique slot now instead of a decent all-rounder, which it's still very handy. And
yeah, I mean, it's still a strength 7 gun.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you can't use it on everything anymore, which honestly, I can appreciate. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Breaching and these next ones are brand new rules that didn't exist before. Pathfinder is the next one. It's short. It's simple. You automatically pass dangerous terrain checks. And if you have an independent character that has Pathfinder and you stick him in a unit that doesn't have Pathfinder, he confers it to that unit. Yay!
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, especially considering that dangerous terrain checks are super dangerous now.
Yes.
Don't like that.
No. Then we have Battle Hardened, which is also a new rule. It increases the toughness by value in brackets for the purposes of instant death. Which I believe, what are the new Imperial Fist guys? The Husk Girls, I think, have Battle Hardened.
Ooh, that's cool. I know Abaddon does. The Primarchs all have Battle Hardened. Although, I don't think it particularly matters for Primarchs since they have Eternal Warrior.
Yeah, I think it's a handy thing to have. Just adds a little extra layer of complexity to the model where, while it still might be X to wound, you no longer have to worry about just getting completely shot off the field.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of old, at a 4th edition, maybe, where you used to have toughness values with a second toughness value in brackets, which was used for calculating instant death.
Yeah, well, that's basically this.
Plague Marines used to be T5 against everything except instant death, but against instant death, they were only T4. So, neat.
Yeah, interesting.
Yep. We've talked about Shrouded already. It's an additional save like Feel No Pain, but it only works against shooting.
Yep. Then there's Brutal, a new weapon, a new rule, I should say, and for each successful wound that is caused before saves, the model instead suffers the number of wounds in the brackets, i.e. a Brutal 4 weapon for each wound would require 4 saves, and these saves do not carry over into the unit. It is on a per model basis, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah. This is for those of you who really enjoyed the damage mechanic from 9th edition or Age of Sigmar. Mm-hmm. Now you don't have to worry about, putting some huge heavy hit into someone and it only doing 1 wound.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing I couldn't stand with, shooting a Castellax with a Demolisher cannon and getting a direct hit. And, okay, you take 1 wound. Mm-hmm. It just felt weird.
Yeah. Dreadnought Gravis Power Fists, for instance, have Brutal. And they're going to kill you. They're just going to pick you up and kill you.
Yeah. Bedtime.
Yeah, just put him down for a forever nap.
Yep. And then finally on this list, we have Reach, which is also a new rule that increases the model's initiative when wielding this weapon by the value in brackets.
Yikes. I know Death Guard, again, I believe their power sides have Reach 1, so most of them are swinging at I5.
Power Spears just got a whole lot better, even more.
Yep, I think the Phoenix weapons have Reach. Maybe one of the Charnabal weapons has reach.
There's a few models where they have special rules or very specific weapons that gain reach in certain situations.
Yeah, like Phoenix Spears, which are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, can't hide from the blade. But those
are the rules.
Yep, those are all our special rules.
Yep. Then there's a thing on reactions, but we've talked about reactions in the past, so I think we're good on that.
Yeah, everyone, if you don't know what reactions are by now, well,
you'll find out soon. You'll find out soon. They'll come up. So yeah, that's those are the major changes to 2.0. I'm really happy with them.
Yes, there's nothing in there that I don't like. The only thing that I feel kind of iffy on is concussive, which feels like it kind of breaks the flow of the game by injecting a leadership test that isn't, like a morale check for losing combat or anything.
And shock pulse, which I can see why it would be that way, but at the same time feels a little weird.
Yeah.
Might need a token or something to keep track of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. But otherwise, very, very happy with these changes, with the health of the game.
Mm-hmm.
At least, after I've played them for 10 years with no updates, and then I'll have a whole new set of complaints.
That's right. And well, speaking of health of the game, last week, July 1st, they dropped
the Legacy document. Oh, if y'all haven't looked at this yet, you need to. It has so many units in it that are pretty good. Normally, the what's the word? Precedent for like legacy units or legends is that they're not that great to kind of discourage you from using them while Games Workshop phases them out. But the Legacies of the Age of Darkness, a lot of the rules in here, or a lot of the units, still came out pretty
I would say
reliable.
I would say definitely more than half.
Yeah. There's even some new units in here that have never been seen before.
Like the Hammerfall Bunker.
Hammerfall Bunker.
Yeah. I will say, especially for some of the super heavies or Lords of War, some of the points have drastically increased.
Yeah, they're definitely gearing up for something regarding Lords of War. I'm not sure what kind of updates they plan on putting in, in future publications, but the Lords of War were the big losers of the Legacy document.
Yeah, I would say so. But at the same time,
but playing with Lords of War isn't all that fun, so I don't care.
I feel bad for people who do. I really don't. But good God, I'm just glad to see some of these Dark Angel units again. I will say there's several in here that I thought were kind of surprising to see. It's nice to see a lot of the councils back. I think we have all the consoles back.
We got the Warmonger and the Primus Nullificator.
Yeah, it was interesting to see some of these rules that they put in them where it seemed like, they put some thought into what the scope and the, I guess the lore that goes along with them. Like the Warmonger, they have the Etheric Juncture Splicer, which kind of helps out instead of just having, okay, you have Deep Strike, here you go.
Yeah, they have the Deep Strike thing that isn't very good at deep striking.
Yeah, it's a really risky move to where whatever unit you bring along deep striking
might explode and die.
Yeah. Everybody basically has to take a dangerous terrain check when used.
If you are a fan of Dreadnoughts and you were wondering where the box Dreadnought went, he's in here, and he's pretty good. The Land Raider Achilles is in here. Iron Warriors Players Rejoice, the Basilisk, Medusa, and Whirlwind are all back in it. As well as all of the named characters that didn't make it into their respective Liber books. Altek Moore, Shadrach Medusan, Keir Valen, they're all in here. Everyone except sweet, what's his name? That Holbeloth. Holbeloth isn't in there.
That could have been that important if you forgot his name.
Yeah, I never played with him, but I did make a model for him, thinking one day I might. Now I don't have to worry about it. Now I just use that model for something else.
He was pretty entertaining so far as he went. I love that he just ignored, instead of just giving them an extra wound, he just ignored the first wound he took regardless of source.
Yep.
Didn't matter if it was a lasgun or a Titan like destroyer weapon. Ignore it.
He's just boop, don't care. Sons of Horus players who were wondering where their Reaver jump packs went, the Reaver Aggressor Squad is in this book, or this document, and is Reavers with jump packs. Emperor's Children players who were wondering where their Palatine Blades jump packs went, keep wondering. Because they're not in here. For some reason. Rampagers got to keep their jump pack, but Palatine Blades, no.
I will say this document is kind of put out in a way to where it seems like it would be easy to do updates to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much love this particular document is going to get in the future. I'd like to see some down the road, but I understand that being a document of free rules to get you by, there's only but so much that they're going to focus on it. But it's it's handy to have. I'm still hoping for players of other factions like Mechanicum and whatnot that their books come here soon, because this is all basically Space Marine based. I noticed in the at least like in the Excendio Battle Automata page, it calls out specifically Liber Mechanicum and specific page numbers. So I'd be really pleased to see that book come out sooner rather than later, hopefully early August.
Yeah.
Well, so I think that is the plan, but
I was just happy to see my my dreadnoughts in there.
Yeah, I know.
Spending 175 points for a dreadnought that used to be 125, or at least is going to do the same job as a dreadnought that used to be 125, was feeling real bad. But now I don't have to worry about it. Ha.
Yeah, and they also call out the Knights Errant and Black Shields, where they provide rules for unique characters, but the full rules will be coming out in a future publication. So the Black Shields are gone, but not forgotten. And hopefully to see some cool Knights Errant here in the future too.
Yeah, I hope the full Knights Errant rules do come back for making your own custom ones.
That was fun.
Yep. But yeah, we'll have to go through that whole thing at another date. Since this episode, I believe we're starting to stretch the belt.
Yep. But once again, thanks for listening to our program. If you like us, be sure to go over to Facebook and Instagram at R30K Podcast. Give us a like, give us a follow. Be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to. And be sure to check out R30K.com. And if you like to support us, go over to patreon.com/R30K Podcast and become one of our famed, legendary patrons. And as always, I'd like to thank all of our patrons, starting with our Legion Praetors, Alex Selth, Captain Sasquatch, Chaplanisar, Chris Mack, Gardner.Tree of Woe, Joe from Music City Heresy, John Smith, Luke Rizzuto, Matthew Boyce, Michael Tisdall, Mr. Baldwick, Nick Quenga, Rena the Floof, Sarah Luther, Taco Tuesday or Bus 22 Rock and Roll McDonald's, What's Ligma, and Zachary Thompson. Our Legion Centurions, Aaron Maynard, Andrew N., Dave Jones, Duncan M. Tanzer, The Gore Crow, Matthew Andreasio, Nick Hilda, Richard Bork, Scott LeMay, The Zoy, Void Imperatrix. And finally, our Legion Sergeants, Agrippina, Aircraft Terrier, Bulfarius, Ched Cheeseman, Dale Jones, Emily O'Hare, Garrett Lowe, Jay DeSales, Jonathan Crane, Carl, Nick Gillen, Noah Atkins, and Travis Smith. Thank you all for your support. We greatly appreciate it. And that's it for this episode. So until next time, keep those dice rolling. Bye for now.